All right, the first thing is to make sure you're in the correct mode. This is a very important step. This is the difference between right and wrong for a lot, and I can give you a heads up on your final. If you come across a multiple choice question, can guarantee one of the distractor answers, one of the wrong answers on a multiple choice, will be the answer you would have gotten if you did everything right except you were in the wrong mode. Okay? I'm evil that way. Okay? That will always be one of the choices. Okay, so make sure you're in the correct mode. Okay, we haven't started talking about radians yet, but that comes later here in the next section or two. Okay, but for right now, you want to make sure you're in degree mode. Your calculator displays the mode that you're in here at the bottom of your display. Okay, so you can see DEG is degree. If you have RAD, okay, you need to be able to jump back and forth. To toggle those, if you hit this mode button on your calculator, and then scroll down to the fourth line, it tells you angle, and then you can choose radian, degree, or gradient. Probably you have another form on yours. This one doesn't, but choose degree for right now. Okay, the only time you're in degree mode is if you see a degree symbol in your problem. Okay, so let's see how we evaluate these. So let's say we take sine of 32 degrees. Okay, if you don't see a degree symbol here, and again, we'll get to it later in more specifics, but might as well introduce it now. But if you don't see a symbol that says degrees, then it's referencing radians. Okay, so make sure you check. It has to have a degree symbol on it in order to work in degrees. Okay, the sine, cosine, and tangent, you guys shouldn't have any problem evaluating those on your calculators, correct? They have little buttons for them right here. Sine, cosine, tangent above the y, z, and the t. So if you wanted to evaluate sine of 32, you'd hit second y, gives you the sine. Type in 32. Either put a decimal into your display or use the green diamond if you're in auto mode to make sure you're in the decimal form. And so we would get 0.5299 as our ratio. Molly?
Is there supposed to be a degree on our calculator?
No. You don't need to type it on your calculator, just on the problem itself.
Okay. Got it.
All right, so try for the other two ratios. Find or evaluate the cosine and tangent of 32. We'll just keep the same angle measure for all of them. And to make sure that you understand how your calculator works. Marco? How do I what? If you hit this mode button right below the white alpha key, and then scroll down to the fourth line, it says basically angle type, and then choose degree in there and hit enter until it comes back to the home screen. For what? No, mode. Scroll down to the fourth line. The green diamond one I said when you enter your number, either put it in decimal form or hit the green diamond. All right, so if we look at this, cosine is second z, type in 32. Again, I'm putting a decimal in it, so your answer should be 0.8480. And then tangent is second t, 32. Again, the other way to get your decimal form here is to hit the green diamond button. So I get 0.6249 approximately. Okay, are there any questions about our basic three trig ratios, evaluating them with your calculator? All right, what do you think you would do if I asked you to find the reciprocal functions? Okay, so now that's a little bit different. The sign to the -1 is called the inverse sign, okay, or called an arc sign. And we'll talk about those later. Those are used to evaluate an angle. So if you know a trig ratio, this is the inverse sign. The inverse is different from a reciprocal in this case. The reciprocal functions are not the same as these inverse signs. So that we're not going to get to yet until we're finding unknown angles. And so if you know that the sine of an angle sine of some unknown angle is 1 over 2, or 0.5. That's the ratio of its opposite side to the hypotenuse. Then you can determine what the angle measure is for that using the inverse sine. Okay, the reciprocal ones can't be found there. Okay, so remember, what is a reciprocal function? What's the reciprocal function of cosecant? It's equal to 1 over. Remember, they don't start with the same letter, sine. So you could do this for each of these. What's the reciprocal of secant? Cosine. And then what's the reciprocal of cotangent? Okay, so one way that you can evaluate these is you can take your sine function and then just invert it. Take its reciprocal. Okay, and there's two ways that you can take the reciprocal. No? All right, so there's two ways that you can take the reciprocal on your calculator. Okay, one, since we have all these ratios right here, we could just take 1 divided by, and we can go highlight this measure. And we could also highlight the exact thing. So 1 divided by sine of 32. If we hit that, we get our solution, 1.8871. Okay, another way that we could complete the reciprocal is we could take the actual original ratio here, and we could take it to the power of -1. Remember, if we go back to the properties of negative powers, remember a negative power moves, it inverts your base. So if we were to take cosine of 32 all to the power of -1 and hit enter, we would get our reciprocal. So 1.792. Okay. What are you looking for? If you, Marco took it. I'm sorry about that. All right. So the last way to evaluate this, any ideas? Really, guys, in a school where they're trying to breed sensitivity and acceptance. You know, you do realize that every person is different in multiple ways, right? All right. All right. All right, so here's the final way to approach this. Okay? And it's very straightforward. Anybody want to try to make a guess? Type it in, right? Your calculators are pretty powerful, right? If you just type the word, so if you alpha lock and type in COT, okay, and then parentheses 32 decimal point, it will evaluate that for you. It's not in your displays and it doesn't show it, okay, but it will evaluate that for you. So in this case, you get 1.600.